All of Elvis's soundtrack albums have their moments, but I think the early 60s soundtrack albums from GI Blues to Funny in Acapulco tend to get lumped in with the later 60s albums. They tend to get tarred with the same brush as albums such as Kissing Cousins or Harem Scarum or Frankie and Johnny. But I think if Elvis had stopped making movies at Viva Las Vegas, history would have looked more kindly on the albums from GI Blues to Funny in Acapulco. And today I'm going to focus specifically on one of the best 60s soundtrack albums, GI Blues. And I'm going to talk about 10 things that I like about GI Blues. The cover of the GI Blues albums set the tone for all the 1960s soundtrack albums. And I've got one here to show you. This is from the UK, 1960 mono pressing. And it's a very bright, colourful cover, very appropriate for the light entertainment that GI Blues is. And on the 1950s album covers, or the 1950s movie album covers, Elvis looks very moody, but he doesn't look moody at all in this picture. He's not smiling. He rarely smiles for the soundtrack covers, but he certainly doesn't look moody. And the colours are really good, bright, and I like the lettering as well, especially the blue on blue, light blue on dark blue there. That's very effective. And the different sized letters. It's a really striking front cover. And the back is also different from the 50s soundtrack covers in that you have colour photographs, not black and white. And there's no stodgy sleeve notes on the back as well. It almost goes without saying that the vocals on an Elvis album are great. And for me, I particularly love this period of Elvis's career, 1962, about 1963. I just love the sound of his voice more than at any other time. And the singing throughout is really exceptional for me. But there's one particular part of one particular song that just really knocks me out every time I hear it. And Elvis just sort of seems to glide up the scale and right to the top of his range. But he doesn't go into falsetto. He's still singing right at the top. Just have a listen to this.
Kiss me extra tender, hold me extra tight, 'cause I'm saving your sweetness for a lonely night. No more teardrops.
The guitar in Elvis's 1950s songs was a pretty straightforward affair because you just had Elvis on the acoustic guitar and Scotty Moore on the electric guitar. And then, of course, later in the 50s, you had Hank Garland on a few songs as well. But in the 1960s, it became a lot more complicated because there was still Scotty Moore on the sessions, but there were very often 2 or 3 other guitar players on the sessions. So you don't always know who's playing what. But on this particular album, there is an exceptional solo in one particular song that really sounds like vintage Scotty Moore. And I'm talking about Frankfurt Special. And I especially enjoy the train a rolling rhythm which plays underneath it. Have a listen to this.
Special's got a special way to go.
In most of the 1950s recordings, Bill Black played the bass, and of course he played an upright bass, which is sometimes quite difficult to hear on those early recordings. But by the time of the GI Blues album, the electric bass had become part of Elvis's band, and you can certainly hear it very loud and clear on the GI Blues album. And one particular bass line stands out for me. It's a real loping, ballsy riff that really pushes the song along, and I'm talking about this one. Have a listen to this.
I wanna stop shopping around 'cause I found the girlie I'm looking for.
The Beatles and some other early 1960s bands recorded a few of their hits in German, but I think they and their fans kind of became a little bit embarrassed by them as time went on. But Wooden Heart remains a classic, and of course it is partly sung in German. Now, I've got no idea what sei mir gut means, but It sounds great to me.
Sei mir gut, sei mir gut, sei mir wie du wirklich sollst, wie du wirklich sollst, 'cause I don't have a word.
The accordion was included in several of the songs on the GI Blues album because it gives it that European feel. Funnily enough, it remained a part of Elvis's music for the next year after that, appearing also on Flaming Star and Lonely Man. But unlike the pedal steel guitar on Blue Hawaii, which, to be honest, gets a little bit much for me by the middle of side 2, the accordion is never overdone on this album. It's always discreet, never over the top. For example,
One by one the stars appear, they twinkle in your eyes. Who'd believe that we'd be here, so near to paradise?
one of my favorite Elvis books is called Writing for the King. It's one of those expensive FTD books, and maybe I'll do a review of it one of these days. But it's an excellent book, and it actually gave me a new appreciation for the men and women who wrote these soundtrack songs. And in the book, they try their best to put up a good defense for those songs, and in many cases they actually succeed. Of course, you can't really defend songs like Old MacDonald, but the writer did try. However, the lyrics on Elvis's soundtrack songs are often very clever, very good. For example, this one.
We'd like to be heroes, but all that we do here is march. We'd like to be heroes, but all that we do here is march. And they don't give the Purple Heart for a fallen arch.
As you know, the version of Blue Suede Shoes in the movie GI Blues is a new version, and it's much funkier, I believe, than the original super-powered, super energy version that he recorded in 1956. To me, this new version sounds closer to the Carl Perkins original. And so Scotty Moore's guitar is also suitably toned down a little bit, but it's a really nice alternative to the original.
Things you wanna do, but honey, lay off of my shoes and don't you step on my.
By 1960, Elvis had become a much improved singer of ballads, certainly compared to songs that he recorded at Sun Records, like I Love You Because in 1954. And you can certainly hear that improvement in songs like Big Boots, which starts out with just Elvis and a music box, and it's a lovely arrangement. And then partway through, you get the guitar and some very delicately played drums. I think they may be played with brushes, and it's a lovely arrangement.
So sleep, little soldier, don't you cry.
When I was a kid, I saw the movie GI Blues long before I was able to buy the record. And in the movie, my favorite song was Did You Ever? Now, many years later, Did You Ever is my least favorite song on the album, but yet I still enjoy it. And that's the point about this album. The singing, the playing, and even the lyrics, they're just really good all the way through. There's a consistency to it. It's a lot of fun, is this album. And it's probably my favorite 60s soundtrack album. So what do you think about GI Blues, the album? Are there any things that you like about it that I didn't talk about? Please let me know in the comment section below. Thanks a lot. Cheers.